Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to spend some time talking about the Offensive Rookie of the Year award and the Defensive Rookie of the Year award and who I see taking home that award this season in the NFL. I think the race this year is going to be a little bit more competitive than it was last year. The Jets won both of the awards last year. Garrett Wilson, he won the Offensive Rookie of the Year, and then Sauce Gardner, he won the Defensive Rookie of the Year. Personally, from around the midway of the season, I feel like those races were kind of over. Just where the Jets hype was and how Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner were producing at that time, the race kind of felt over, and I think we're going to see a lot more impactful rookies this year than we did last year. I mean, there were some other ones that were pretty nice, like Chris Olave. He had a really good season, similar to Garrett Wilson in a lot of ways as far as his production went. Kenneth Walker even made a run for it. If he didn't get hurt, maybe he would have taken that award home. And then outside of Sauce Gardner for the defensive award, it was Aiden Hutchinson and Tariq Woolen. I personally don't think Woolen was ever going to be truly considered just because he was seen as the worst corner compared to Sauce. And Hutchinson had a good season. I actually think he had a pretty fair case to win that award with 9.5 sacks, and he was really the only real impact player on that Lions defense. And even 2 years ago in 2021, it still felt like it was a one-man race basically the entire year. Jamar Chase with Offensive Rookie of the Year, he ran away with that award. And then on defense, Micah Parsons, who came in and had a historic rookie season for the Cowboys. So it's been a couple years now since there's been a true battle for that award. You go back to 2020, you had the Justin Herbert versus Justin Jefferson battle. That went pretty close down to the wire, but you know, the quarterbacks usually win those awards. Herbert had his historic rookie season, so he ended up taking that award home. And then defensively, you had Chase Young, who came in as the second overall pick, and he had 7.5 sacks and made a Pro Bowl as a rookie, and he was competing against people like Jeremy Chin and Patrick Queen and Antoine Winfield. So the 2020 race was a little bit interesting. I definitely think it was more interesting than the past couple of seasons, but the last really competitive one that I remember is going all the way back to 2019, the year prior. That is when there was a handful of really good players, both offensively and defensively, that took the voting down to the wire. On offense, you had 4 really good players with Kyler Murray, Josh Jacobs, AJ Brown, and Miles Sanders. Kyler Murray got some free votes just because he is a quarterback and he had a respectable rookie season, but in totality, he only got 53% of the votes. And that's largely due to Josh Jacobs having 1,000 yards as a rookie. It's due to AJ Brown having 1,000 yards as a rookie, and also because of Miles Sanders, who had over 1,300 yards as a rookie. And then defensively, you had 2 star pass rushers going head to head with Nick Bosa and Max Crosby. And if you look at both of their statistics, you could make an argument that Max Crosby was robbed. He had double-digit sacks as a rookie with 36 tackles, while Nick Bosa had 9 sacks, 32 tackles, but he also added in an interception. But the reason I bring up that history lesson is because I think this year has a chance to be just as competitive of these 2019 and 2020 races were. Unlike last year's rookie class, there's a lot of quarterbacks that have gotten a lot of hype and have a lot of potential heading into this season. Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, they're all seen as potential guys that could win this award. And then like every draft, you have your group of wide receivers that are pretty high up in Zay Flowers, Jordan Addison, and Quentin Johnston. But the favorite right now is running back Bijan Robinson out of Texas, who the Atlanta Falcons drafted inside the top 10. And then defensively, there's a lot of high potential linemen. I think that we could see a battle come down to the wire. You have Jalen Carter, who was seen as a generational prospect who fell in the draft due to some off the field issues. And then you have Will Anderson out of Alabama. He was a premier pass rusher at the collegiate level. The expectation is that he's a very pro-ready player and he's going to step in and have an immediate impact for the Texans defense this season. And then 2 other highly drafted players in Tyree Wilson and Devon Witherspoon are also candidates to win that award. Could Witherspoon, another cornerback, win the award back-to-back years for that position? Or could Tyree Wilson, who has a nice other premier pass rusher on the other side of him, and Max Crosby, find his way to getting that award? With all the attention going to Crosby and Tyree Wilson likely getting a lot of one-on-one matchups, could he have a fairly productive season on a Raiders defense that needs some playmakers? So when I look at all the candidates for the awards this year and I compare it to last year, I think it's a lot more deep, and we're going to have some really nice close battles coming down to the last week of the NFL regular season. Now for the Offensive Rookie of the Year award, I think it's a 2-person race. Bijan Robinson against the top-rated quarterback who performs well this year, and I think that will likely be Bryce Young because he is in the best situation to succeed right away. But if I have to pick one, I am going to side with Bijan Robinson. I think the rushing attack in Atlanta this year is going to be pretty spectacular. You have a wizard at run schemes and calling plays in Arthur Smith. You have a good offensive line that can create running lanes and give a nice push up front, and you also have a committee of backs that can be pretty effective. You have Bijan as the top guy, Tyler Algier, who was a really good rookie last year for the Falcons, and even Cordell Patterson. So although I think Bijan is going to get the most touches in that backfield, he's not going to be relied upon to be a guy that carries the ball 25 to 30 times a game. I think they're going to be able to put him out in the slot, let him use his hands a little bit, let him use his route running, match up against linebackers and safeties, and be effective that way as well. I made a video on Bijan during the draft process and said that he's the best running back prospect since Saquon Barkley, so I think his impact is going to be huge on the Falcons this season. If you remember the impact that Ezekiel Elliott had on the Cowboys as a rookie, where he almost had over 2,000 all-purpose yards, practically led the Cowboys to a 13-win season with a rookie quarterback behind center, I think Bijan can have that same sort of impact as a rookie. I'm not too confident in Desmond Ridder and his success this year, but I do think his job is going to be pretty easy. Just hand the ball off to Bijan, throw it out to Drake London and Kyle Pitts, and let them all do the work. I think Arthur Smith is smart and he knows what is going to win them games, and that is rushing the football and relying on your top 10 rookie running back and Robinson. So I think when the season is over, he is going to win that award. I think he can have around a 1,500 to 1,600 yard season in all-purpose yards. I'm really high on Bijan this year. I think he's going to step into the NFL and be one of the best running backs right away. So ultimately, he is going to be my pick, but I definitely can see a quarterback like Bryce Young or CJ Stroud competing with him until the last couple of weeks for that award. Now, defensively, this is where things get a lot more interesting to me. I think this could be a 4 or 5 person race come the end of the season. You have the premier pass rushers in Will Anderson, Jalen Carter, and Tyree Wilson. And then you have some pieces in the secondary that I think can be really effective in year number 1 as well. That starts with Devon Witherspoon. He's with the Seahawks, who know how to utilize corners. They develop them really well. As you see with Tariq Woolen, what he did last year, they're pretty good at finding cornerbacks and making sure that they can develop them properly. So I think Witherspoon could have that sort of immediate impact where he steps in and kind of just shuts down his side of the field. But I think as a corner, it's a little bit harder to win that award because you definitely need some more media hype around you because you do not put up a ton of statistics. Sauce Gardner, for example, his name, how he kind of markets himself, I think that definitely helped him in that race to kind of get the media looking towards his direction. So on top of Witherspoon having a good season, I also think he's going to have to market himself and his play a little bit to get that recognition to win that award. And then quickly, I want to go over the pass rushers because I think they can all be sort of grouped in together. I think Jalen Carter is really, really good. He's going to step in right away and be an impact player for the Eagles defensive line. The thing about that though is they are super deep and they're not going to need him to be dominant every single play like some other teams might need him to be. So it makes me wonder if his impact is not going to be nearly seen as much because he's going to miss out on some sacks and some tackles because some other guys just get to the quarterback before him. I already mentioned Tyree Wilson and how being on the other side of Max Crosby could really help him put up a lot of stats. But Wilson is also a little bit more of a raw prospect. He needs some development to really reach his ceiling. So in year 1, do I really expect him to have a 9 to 10 sack season? I think that's a pretty large ask for him. And then Will Anderson, I think he has the best chance out of any of the defensive linemen to take home the award. Solely because there's not a lot around him on the Texans defensive line or their defense in general. He's going to be relied upon to have big numbers and have a huge impact on the game from day 1. So I can definitely see a world where Will Anderson has around 10.5 sacks this year and does take home that award because of how much he produced. And lastly, my sleeper pick for the award, which not a lot of people are talking about, I feel like, is Christian Gonzalez for the New England Patriots. A lot of people had Gonzalez as the top cornerback in the draft ahead of Witherspoon, and of course he fell to the New England Patriots with what was the 17th pick in the draft. They traded back with the Steelers in the draft and still got their guy and one of the highest upside players in the entire first round. Gonzalez, similar to Bijan, is in a perfect position to be successful from the start. He's with a team that knows how to develop cornerbacks. He's going to be in a good scheme that fits his skill set. But don't sleep on Gonzalez to win this award either. But my pick for Defensive Rookie of the Year is going to be Jalen Carter. I'm just super high on him as a player, and I think that he is going to have a really big impact for the Eagles this year. Although they do have some nice edge rushers and some depth in the middle of their defense, I think his run stopping ability combined with his power as a pass rusher is just going to give him a little bit more value on that Eagles defensive line to make some big plays. I could easily see a 6 or 7 sack season with around 12 or 14 tackles for loss, which would be incredible as a rookie. But I'm going to be super interested to see how the offensive and defensive rookie of the year races go this year. I think it's going to be really competitive and one of the closest races in recent memory. But let me know who you're picking to win offensive and defensive rookie of the year this year. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Drop a like on the video if you did enjoy it. And as always, thank you so much for watching the video, and I'll catch you guys in my next one.